In this episode of Rooted in Retail, I am sitting down in person with Michelle Sherrier, Retail Whore podcast, which a lot of our retailers love. And Michelle has been on my podcast. It was episode 4 of Rooted in Retail, one of the very first, and we got such great feedback from that. Michelle is a retail expert in design, display, merchandising. I love her creative mind. I put her on the spot in this episode of giving her tasks, like challenges, to tell me how she would merchandise different stores, a jeweler and pet store. We talk about a few different examples in there, which was a lot of fun. If you're watching this episode, you'll notice that we are in person. I had the opportunity to sit down with several guests at the Las Vegas market this summer. It was an honor to be able to do this in person. It's just way better having these conversations in person versus Zoom. So hopefully you get to tune in and watch versus listen. But either way, I'm glad that you're here because Michelle and I are talking about holidays and burnout. Holidays are approaching. She's got foundational best practices for you, key things that you really need to be considering, how to stand out in a crowded market and really capture people's attention with your displays and your merchandise, how to pull people into your store. She always has so many great tips for our retailers. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this episode. We also are talking about the item for holiday, and I'm already seeing it all over the place. So I'd be curious if you're selling this item too. You'll have to DM me and let me know. We also talk about burnout because during the holiday season, it can be a lot to obviously sell. You're busy, hopefully, and we can get tired and exhausted. And so Michelle's got some really great tips for you as a store owner, as well as for your employees, how to help support them. Really great conversation covering a lot of ground. I just want to point out that at the end of the conversation, we talk about something that's really cool that Michelle is doing. So I hope that you listen to this full episode. To just give you a quick heads up about it, you really should be following her Instagram account, MC Design Collaboration, M as in Mary, C Design Collaboration, because she is doing reviews on people's submitted pictures of their displays and giving advice and saying things she likes or what she'd do different. You could submit your own photos. It's definitely something you're going to want to follow along. You'll learn a lot from Michelle through this. And I think it's one of the coolest things I've seen people do on Instagram to really connect with their community. I love her. She's got so much value to add to this conversation. So we'll link, if you haven't listened to episode 4, go back and do that on Rooted and tune into her podcast, The Retail Whore. And let's dive into this episode. Welcome to Rooted in Retail, the show that's dedicated to helping independent retailers thrive in today's ever-evolving retail landscape. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me weekly as we explore topics that are vital to the success of your store. From marketing to mindset, money to merchandising, sales to leadership, we'll cover it all. Each episode features interviews with industry experts and accomplished retailers who share their real-life insights and actionable advice. Get ready for a great conversation on how to build your dream business with Rooted in Retail. Michelle, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you. It's so great to do this in person.
I know. It's so much better than Zoom.
100%.
And we are live at Market.
Yep.
We're so excited to be here in Las Vegas at the Market. We're so happy that they let us do this. You have been here for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Share a little of what you've been doing here at Market.
So I not only merchandise with retailers, I also set up wholesale showrooms. So Stephen Young is my biggest client. He opened a showroom last show and he expanded this show, so I did the original setup with him, and then I'll go in and do some zhuzhing. Fine Lines expanded and moved also up to the 11-4, because I don't know how many people know this, but the 11-4, the building is trying to make, or is planning on making it more of a design based floor. So there's other showrooms that are moving up that I don't think I can announce yet, but it's going to be very design savvy, almost like high design. It's a high design at New York now. So Fine Lines, I spent some time doing merchandise from them, and then I moved downstairs to sales producers to my other showroom. So we're setting up all the new vendors, as well as recreating all the displays, so everything comes down, everything gets built back up. It's all based around the holiday or new introductions, but it's it's been great, but I'm so ready to go home.
Yeah, it's a long time to be in Vegas.
Yeah.
Those are big jobs. So, I mean, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sitting down. So we are airing this in the month of October, and our theme in October is all about holidays and burnout because they kind of come together, right? The holiday season is so crazy for our retailers. So let's talk about, as the holidays approach, what are some of the most important factors that retailers should consider in their merchandising strategy?
I think planning is the most important. Like yesterday I was with a client, and you come to market, I think a lot of people, and it's like there's so much to see and there's so much to take in, and initially you get super excited and you start writing orders, and that's why I say all the time, like, I walk the floors before just so I can get a good idea of because you'll see the trends as they kind of unravel from showroom to showroom. And I said to my client yesterday, do you have an idea of what your holiday is going to look like? Because I came out of anthropology, so I concept very heavily, and when I'm buying, I'm cherry picking lines to create a concept. But I think a lot of people get there and they're like, oh, this, that. And I think knowing what your concept is or what it looks like, both in holiday merchandise as well as non-holiday, and how it's going to merge together, and what your gift presentations are going to be, whether they're tabletop, hand-in-hand gifts like spoons and platters or whatnot. I think knowing that is really important, and that way then, and putting it on paper on a calendar, because I think that with my clients we have it mapped out a year in advance. Like, I know that I'm setting up Masson A on the weekend of Halloween for her holiday, but I think having it on paper, which helps you understand which dates you're going to bring it in delivery windows. So you bring it in this timeline, then you're setting it up in this timeline. And I think having that on paper or spreadsheet, whatever you're doing on it, is really important.
No kidding. Do you feel like October, is that too late to be planning for the holiday, since this is?
I think planning's too late. I think I hate to say it, because the landscape of the home goods and Hobby Lobby, and how Hobby Lobby, half of the jobs I did this show were rolling out some Christmas, and where do you buy Christmas trees in July? Well, Hobby Lobby, because they roll it out. But they roll it out so early, and then by the time everyday retailers and boutiques roll it out, Hobby Lobby's already got it at 50% off. And same thing as home goods. And I think that's the challenge now that retailers have. And a lot of retailers are like, no one wants to see it before October. No one wants to see it, but bottom line is it needs to sell. And it needs to sell through. So if you put it out too late, it's a fine line, but if you put it out too late, this person's already got it on sale, and you want to be able to sell it through so you don't have to put it on sale.
Right. Okay.
So I'm setting up retailers Halloween, it's hard because you've got your Halloween presentation still, and all of a sudden Christmas is going up. Yeah. But it's really, earlier than that's a fine line, but there's a lot of people that put it up that early and they're selling through, if not selling it out.
Okay.
I think Vroman's bookstore last season, when I was talking to my friend Fabian, who was their buyer, he's like, we put it up 2 weeks ago and it's already, half the stuff's already sold out.
Wow.
And it's, bottom line is, again, like, you want to be sold through it by the time the holiday actually reaches.
Okay. And it's July as we're filming this, so just to give context on timing.
Get ready, people.
I know, no kidding. Get ready, and you got to plan. I love the quote, fail to plan, plan to fail. Yeah. Just like anything, so we got to make sure we're ready. What about some best practices for holiday merchandising that can ensure both customer satisfaction and optimal sales performance?
Cross-merchandising and add-on sales. I talk about this all the time, is that when you are building your presentation, whether it's personal care or tabletop or whatnot, like, think about what your customer is going to use them with. Candles, pair up matches with it. Do some presets. Like, I love the idea of spending some time, and you don't have to go crazy with the pre-wrap thing, but for one of my accounts, we did salts from, I think it was Bella Cucina, and then she bought bamboo spoons from somewhere else, so we tied them on with a little burlap and a little tiny twig of like faux green. So it felt like holiday. It was an easy purchase. It's like you can grab and go, and you're building up your sales.
Totally.
And I think if you make your own sets and whatnot, you have a bigger profit margin built in, because if you can find some great inexpensive little bamboo spoon and tie it on a higher end, because food only has so much of a markup. So your profit margin is really building this up, and whatever you're bringing into it has a bigger profit margin, which will boost the wholesale.
Awesome. Okay. I kind of want to put you on the spot and give you a couple of questions that are industry specific that aren't necessarily gift and home. I would be curious how you would do an add-on or cross-on for a jeweler, or cross-sell or add-on for a jeweler.
For high-end diamonds are a hard one, because I think, the layered look is showing multiple designs on one, because everything right now, we all layer everything. And I think that if you are, I don't think you can build on much on a $50,000 diamond necklace, but I think that if you're selling, the tennis bracelets, or show them in multiples and show different price points with them, because I think that, it's easy for someone to go, I love that, but okay, so that's 4,000. Like, how much is that one? It's like, that one's 1,000. So it's almost like a deal.
Right.
So it's easier to sneak in, medium price things to help upsell the higher price things, but also a lot of times they will buy the other item as well.
It's so good. It's the price justification, right? When I see something, I love that. Okay, what about for a pet shop? A pet store?
Oh, pet stores are easy. Okay. It's like, I have 3 dogs, so I just think like toys and treats and beds and toys that go back with the beds. There are so many lines that do such a good job. Fringe Pet Shop has expanded, because I do Fringe for Stephen Young, and their pet division has blown up. It is so big and it's so full of toys, and they're concepting now. It was so cute for the summer. They did this whole little barbecue thing, and they did these little toys that looked like little sides of meat with like in a butcher shop, and little teeny tiny barbecues. But I think that if you can build your sale, say it's like a wilderness thing, you can do, or they did hunting toys too, which I'm not a hunting thing, but I'm sure there's dog beds that you can tie back to that with the toy with it. Concepting, I think, for pet stores would be the funnest thing to do.
Yeah, no kidding. It sounds like it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, finally, what about a toy store?
Toy store, same things. It's like for us at the pharmacy, we'll do plush and books that go back to it, plus other little fidget toys. We build really big stories. Erin was doing, because it's my last season with Burt's Pharmacy, which I've been with them for 7 years, and it's this weird, sad thing, but I have to really stand back now because it's really Erin's show. So, she's building concepts as I trained her. And she did an astronaut. So she was pulling puzzles from one vendor and books from another vendor, and then astronaut candy from something else, where you create these really big statements. I think it also keeps your statements more cohesive. So it's not like I have somebody that's like, I want to do those crystal soap rocks. I'm like, it's a hard one, because if you don't have a personal care department, what is it going back to? And what happens is, when it doesn't have a strong concept to go back to, it floats miscellaneously throughout your store, and all of a sudden it's like, why is this not selling? Because there's nothing for the customer to tie it back to. I love this soap rock. What you want to feed them, whole concepts. Look at all this amazing stuff that you can get. And toy stores are the best, because there's so much things that you can build in together with it, between plush and books and games and whatnot.
Oh, I love it. Okay, thanks for doing that. We went off script.
That's all right. I love off script. I don't do any pre-questions in the podcast, so I get the tables turned on me.
I love it. I love doing that. If you're tired of your social media creating little to no results, or you feel like your content has just gotten stale or maybe even boring, I have a brand new free training for you. It's called the Social Media Hooks and Hacks: How to Save Time and Stand Out. This training is going to help you capture your customers' attention from the very beginning, get them to stop the scroll, engage, and act. You're going to stand out from the competition with branded, unique content. It's time to save time and connect with customers like never before with this 80-minute training. You can get it at crystalmediaco.com/hooks, HOOKS, hooks. Don't delay. Watch this training. It's going to transform your content. You're going to love it. Enjoy. Okay, how can retailers differentiate themselves during the holiday season in terms of their merchandising efforts to stand out in an overcrowded market?
I think concepting. I think, again, the stronger that you merchandise and the customer walks in, because you have 30 seconds to wow somebody. And a lot of times people shop from the door and they're like, you have your customers that obviously are gonna be coming to you no matter what. But I think that if you're concepting and you're building stories, because merchandising is storytelling, and the more you're storytelling and telling these amazing things, the more you're kind of pulling them into the store. And it's like, what is that? And I think that your opening statement is the most important statement out of everything in your entire store. It's what your customer sees walking by, front door. It's the first thing. It sets the stage. It's something that's so important, whether it be a concept that you're rolling out or just, for the showrooms, it's always the opening statement is always the ta-da moment. And that's what literally reels people in. So I think that having strong concepts and having very strong opening statements that gets your customer in the door from, as they're walking by, or because it's that wow moment. You want people to walk in and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, continue to pull them. But I think the strong concept is really important.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I, of course, because I'm in social media, I see that being such great social content because it's all about storytelling. Mm-hmm. And so you build that within the store and then you're also using that as content for social. Yeah. I think also when you have those wow moments, it makes the customer take the picture and they're sharing, they kind of become this viral sales soldier for you. So it's worth taking that time. I just feel like the consumer has so many choices now. Yeah. And there's a lot of convenience online. And so for us to really capture that attention, we have to put some effort into it.
I think also is that customer service is a very obviously a large part of it, but it's because I hear the Amazon thing all the time. And it's the wholesalers have the same thing with Faire and some other platforms. Right. And it's but I think that your customer service and how you treat your customers and how you wrap it, like Nathan's in Oakland, Nathan's wrap jobs are incredible. And it's he has a team of kids that come back every season. They're on a back table, they wrap these amazing, but that is literally not just the merchandise, but it's literally why people go to him, because it's beautiful wrap job. And I think that between your merchandising, the products you sell, your price points, your customer service is equally as important to all that. And for the stores that say don't take pictures of me, because it is a peeve. Fred Siegel used to say no photos in the store, which okay, I never agreed with it, but now in a world of social media, there's still showrooms here that say no photos. It's because people knock people off, but you're cutting yourself off from a customer being able to share. I was ready to share this one showroom stuff, it's so cute, and he literally stops me in front of, stands in front of, please no photos. I'm like, okay, but that stops you from your piece going out to her. You don't even know who's taking your picture and where they're going to send it, and it's the knockoff thing is out there. I think be less worried about that, be less worried about the Amazon, worry about your focus on your customer service. Stuff like that is what shoots you in the foot sometimes.
Absolutely. I so agree. So good, Michelle. Okay, what about some key merchandising trends that you're seeing this holiday season?
Okay, I've been mostly in appointments, but the last 2 days, I will say, mushrooms are still super big. And there's high-end mushrooms, amazing fabric mushrooms that have velvet tops with little pearls as the accents, to super inexpensive lines that are doing it. And I think, like I said, I cherry pick. So for Raw Paradise, we're gonna do mushrooms. And last year we did collections, ornaments from Cody Foster, from Creative Co-op. And now we're going to kind of beef it up and include some other things. We're going to mix it with crystals, so it gives it more of that glitter. But there's so much good mushroom, and you can go two different ways. You can go the traditional red and black with the polka dots, or you can go this really pretty, organic, kind of natural, more botanist feel. But I'm loving the mushroom thing. That's literally what I've seen almost everywhere.
Okay, so I'm going to see mushrooms everywhere this holiday season. Okay.
They've been out for a while too, because it's there's always a trend where sloths. I was please, and bees. The bees are still super strong, but you're seeing them kind of drop off now. Thank God, because it starts, obviously, the most courageous designers put out these random objects, and then you watch other vendors kind of like, okay, they're selling, and then you watch the trend kind of grow, and then when it's at the less expensive lines, that it's like, okay, now it's a trend, and that's where it starts to kind of eke back a little bit, but it's so, because you can do it two different ways, I think it's got a lot of legs. I think it's going to be a while.
Okay. All right. I can't wait.
You heard it here.
You heard
Mushrooms.
It here. I know. I love it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about burnout, because the holiday season is so busy for a lot of our retailers, and you're working every single day and long hours, and it can be such a fun, amazing time, but it can also be super stressful. So what are some strategies that retailers can implement to prevent burnout among their employees? Let's start there with employees, particularly during this busy season.
I think, thinking back to the days of like when I had my stores and I was you're in the grind day in, day out, I think keeping it fun, and I know, because I think all of us, when we get really stressed, like, it's not fun anymore. Like, you're like, you've lost the sense of humor. You just, at this point, just want to wrap and go. But I think if you keep it fun with contests for your employees, where it gets momentum, I forget what store it was, but they would have pizza parties, because the staff also, it's like, some stores, you want to keep your employees like eat lunch here. So, and if you don't want them to wander off because then they come back late, or their food was late, or whatever happens, bring them in lunch. Like, make it something fun. Do a contest. I think the contest thing is really, because a lot of stores don't work on commission, and I don't really agree with commission, but I do think that you want to have something to engage them, as well as like strive for. And I think it was Annie from Urban Girl in San Diego, when I interviewed her. What I love at Holiday, she, they don't do commission either. She doesn't believe in it either. But they, for their managers that really, everyone has their goals. So your store's goals, your team should know your goals. There's a lot of people that don't tell their employees, like, this, like, we want to do $1 million. Here's how we're going to break down $1 million. Here's your goal. A lot of stores don't share that information, which I think is crazy, but if you're not going to, at least give them a sales goal, and then they'll chart it on a wall so everyone kind of gets their own competition within the store. But for Annie, what she did was, with all of her, because she's got 10 locations, and so she gave each of her managers, they're in San Diego, like a $300 or $400 certificate to the resort, the Indian resort that has gambling and stuff like that. So they could get their room. They had enough to go out to dinner. They, could go get a massage or whatever. And it was like this big, beautiful, here's the end of your season gift, and thanks so much for, or bonus. But I think that, contests for your employees, and if you have multiple locations, contests where they're like working, the other stores are all kind of competing with each other. I mean, Anther did the same thing. Like, we all knew what each other's numbers were, and it was always like this race of who was going to beat who.
Yeah. Okay. So many good ideas in there. I love this. Now, what about for the store owner? How can they prevent burnout, or if they're in it, like, how can they have some balance?
I think, I just keep thinking of how I try and keep balance for myself when I'm in, like, I'm coming off of almost a month. Burnout, or I know I'm burned out when I'm in a car and I'm getting super aggressive and I'm getting so impatient with the light, because the lights in Las Vegas are so long compared to Los Angeles. Yes. That's where I know I'm getting burnout. And the way I've managed to combat it is to still 12 or 14 hours, but try and some days take an afternoon and go get a massage, or for me, go get acupuncture, or go do something for yourself where you take yourself out of the store and the stress, because it's going to be there when you come back. And I think that a lot of people literally will be there like, no, I need to be here. No, and you get caught in this drain of like, I need to be here, I need to be here. And it's like, it's actually making you worse. It's making you more aggravated. It's making your team more stressed out. Is to take that time for yourself, go get a massage, go get a foot massage, go watch sunset with your husband or spouse, and have a glass of wine. Like, whatever it is, take time for yourself, because if you don't, you'll literally go down for here, I had a moment where we were doing a display, and there's always a moment where you cry. And now all the owners know this, that you're doing something, and it's the dumbest thing that makes you break down. And for me, it was a display that was supposed to hold weight, and it didn't hold weight. And it was like, oh my God, my husband, who's my contractor, is leaving tomorrow. Like, I have to fix this, because if I just broke it, for sure, the reps are gonna load it up and it's gonna break in the middle of the show, and then it's my responsibility. And I had my meltdown. And I told my husband, I'm like, I'm gonna go get a massage. And there's this place here that's in California also called the Now, and they don't play pan flute. They only play the sound of loud crashing waves. And the sensory, to be face down and just hear the sound of waves, it was one of those things, it was so crazy, because that sound, it just literally took out all the stress.
Oh, wow.
Because pan flutes, it's easy to think of over and above bad pan flute music. Waves, not so much, and especially when they're so loud. So I realize that you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of your store and your team. And the more angst out and aggravated and frustrated you are, your team is going to feel that. And then they are not productive. And then your customers feel it. And it's so important, if you start, they always say the fish rots from the head. If you start at you and take care of you and your mental and your physical, that it ends up a good trickle-down effect for the rest of your team and customers.
So good. Michelle, what final advice do you have for our retailers during the holiday season?
God, enjoy it. I'm the weirdo that starts playing Christmas music in October, partly because I have to do setups and I have to be into it, but I really try and step back and enjoy the season, because it's a season that I technically should hate, because my setups go from setting up Christmas in retailers to setting up gift show, but I literally will try and take the time of going to see a light show and going, try and go out and same thing, have a cup of cocoa with my husband and watch sunset, or just bundle up and take a walk. But try and enjoy the season, and try and just take it in, and again, just take care of yourself first.
Love it. Now, I want you to share what you're doing on Instagram with retailers submitting pictures and you're critiquing, because I think this is one of the coolest things that you are doing that I've seen somebody do with Instagram. So will you please talk about it?
Yeah, it's funny. One of our followers actually pitched it. She said, I think a great idea to do reels is to have people send in pictures of their stores and you critique them. And Breegan Jane, I've been watching her do it with somebody's remodel, and it was kind of there, but when she threw this up there, and simultaneously, it was crazy. One of the stores sent me a picture. I know you're really busy. I hate to ask this. Do you mind giving me some advice on this display? And I said, it's obviously the universe is telling me I need to do this, because it was so kismet that the two things had nothing to do with each other, yet were the exact same thing. So we've been asking people, send a picture of your store, whether it's your floor plan or a display or a window, and I asked, let me know what your frustration is. I don't want to give just my unbiased opinion. I'd rather know, what is your frustration? What is it you're not going to, people aren't shopping this? Because I can walk through a store on a Zoom call and see exactly, I was on a Zoom call the other day, I'm like, do you have trouble getting people that backspace? And they go, yeah, they get here and they just turn around. I'm like, because you have a giant blockade. So tell me what your frustration is. Tell me what is not working. Tell me, what you feel like you're missing, and then I can look at it. Because I'm not here. I don't want to bash people's displays. It's really about helping retailers, and it's things that not all of us see. Like the one from the other day was, she had a bookcase and there was so much negative space, because it's a bookcase that only holds so many shelves and it's staggered. So if you have shelves here, you can't do one here. It's really odd. So you end up with these weird, giant negative spaces, and you put something on a whatever thing and it's holding it up, and it's still, all you see is negative space. So to go in and say, I would use bigger risers, start with larger items at the bottom, because your weight of a display is heaviest on the bottom and it gets smaller at the top, and when it is smaller, use bigger risers to give it some, and then use mirrors in that negative space, because mirrors will end up making it look like there's more. So we're asking pictures, again, your window or an opening statement or your floor plan or whatever it is, to send it in. You can DM me or you can email us at MC Design Collaboration, or you can send it through DM through both the Retail Horror Podcast or MC Design, and just tell me what your frustration is, and we're doing reels and we're going on and we're talking about it, and it's been really fun, and I can't wait for it to keep going.
Totally. And even if you're not submitting a photo or video, go follow Michelle and hear what she's saying from other people. I mean, you're going to create so much content on and see what other retailers are doing and how you would critique it. And then this is also your opportunity to get some advice from an expert.
For free,
which I just love so much. So we'll link to all of that. Thank you for helping support our retailers. Now, you were one of my very first podcast guests for Rooted in Retail, like episode 4 or 5. We're gonna link to it because you've already done the resilience round. So we're gonna link to it so people can hear your answers there. And if they haven't listened to that episode, they have to, because I learned so much from that show, and we got such great feedback from it too.
Well, it's funny, our worlds are very different. They all work together, but it's, because I want to have you back on to talk about holiday social media, because so many people learn so much from you, and it's like everything, it all goes hand in hand. And I loved being able to talk to retailers, because it's, there's so much, and there's so many tools now that are available to everybody. And I think conversations like this and retail podcasts are like, there's so much information out there, and it's everything from social media to merchandising, and they're very different worlds, all of them.
Yeah, but when you can talk to a couple of experts and understand what you need to be doing and then how they can really work together. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do together there. So thrilled for this conversation. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much.
Everyone, keep in mind, remember that I'm rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.